Post-editing Bionic here, just letting you know that this video isn't going to be addressing any of the Lone Tail spoilers. From everything I've heard, Lone Tail is going to require its own video addressing the characters of Saria and Silence, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. With all that being said, please enjoy the video. Rounding out my videos on Rhinelab for the foreseeable future, Silence. Now, this is kind of a two-parter, but not really. By the time this is uploaded, I will have a video on Saria on the channel, which you don't need to have seen to watch this, but you shall accept the Saria Silence propaganda into your ears and eyeballs. So, what's so great about Silence? In terms of character, she serves a very different role than Saria. Saria is more of a hands-on, do-it-yourself, brute force your way through problems type of character. Not that that's a bad thing, I'm just saying Silence is not the same type of beast that Saria is. Saria is out here casually beating up power armor and putting enhanced soldiers in prison, while Silence is a researcher, and that's not Arknights speak for Silence is built different. She actually is just a doctor, which is cool and appealing in its own way. Silence, at least at the beginning of her journey, is very naive and unsure of herself. Unlike Saria, Silence is growing, not just from a character standpoint, but also from a strength standpoint. She starts off from the earliest point that we know her at, working in Rhinelab as an assistant, where, despite being very moral and upstanding, when push comes to shove, Silence backs down. She doesn't have the strength of character or physical strength to stand up for herself, and as Arknights fans, we know this world is unforgiving for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Which is why, when faced with the experimentation on Ifrit, after it's basically gone too far, she steels herself to rescuing Ifrit, which results in her sedating Ifrit and has the unintended consequence of causing Ifrit to melt down and start burning down Rhinelab. Despite having the best of intentions, at the end of the day, Silence failed to accomplish her goal, and the only reason Ifrit is still alive and kicking today is because Saria got involved. Now, that specific incident, the Diabolic Crisis, is why, despite being extremely close to each other and caring deeply about each other, Saria and Silence are not on speaking terms. But you win some, you lose some. At least she has Ifrit and Telopsis. As can be seen throughout the events of Mansfield Break and Dorothy's vision, she is slowly but surely learning to assert herself. In Mansfield Break, when faced with Mulesies, one of the directors of Rhinelab, she's actually extremely stressed and strained after a conversation with her. Mulesies, as a director, is far more confident in herself than Silence is at this point, and if not for Mountain remaining in Columbia, Mulesies may have done something to Silence, at least in Silence's mind. As we know from dealing with Mulesies in different media, that she probably wasn't going to do anything to actually harm Silence. She just wanted to see how she would react to being pushed. This is in contrast to the Silence that appears in Dorothy's vision. In Dorothy's vision, she's far more willing to stand up to Dorothy, another director of Rhinelab, and she also is able to tell both the police and the defense sector that she doesn't care at all about the consequences of her helping others. This determination and ability to face challenges at a better level than she once could shows how she is beginning to become more like Saria and be able to stand up for her own ideals. Even Calcet in the Rhinelab manga says that after she becomes sure of her beliefs, she'll basically be unstoppable. Obviously, of course, I've mentioned Ifrit and Saria before, but they are core parts to Silence's character and why I like her so much. Which, if you've read the Rhinelab manga, which you definitely should, you know exactly why I became so attached to these three characters. Throughout the events of the Diabolic Crisis and afterwards, Silence became Ifrit's mother. She looks after her, takes responsibility for her treatment and keeps her out of trouble. This includes keeping her away from Saria. In Silence's mind, Saria tried to kill Ifrit at the end of the diabolic crisis. Silence and Saria, because they do not communicate, don't realize how much they did for each other. Silence was poisoned against Saria by Purvis using the documents that had Saria's signature. Purvis convinced Silence that Saria would always take the side of Ryan Labs, and as such, Silence couldn't confide in Saria about her worries over the experiment. Likewise, Saria, trying to protect Ifrit and Silence, didn't tell her about the potential human experimentation that was going on. This ultimately led to Silence sedating Ifrit, which caused Ifrit to rampage, and Saria stepped in to take Ifrit down. And this wasn't a gentle talking her down situation. Saria put the beat down on Ifrit and had a sword ready to kill Ifrit before Ifrit came around. And that is the scene that Silence walked in on. As such, Saria is kept well away from Ifrit, and Saria respects Silence's wishes. However, during the events that surrounded the infected child, Dahlia, Silence and Saria were able to slightly mend their relationship, not properly reconciled, but due to how they both reacted to when Ifrit was in danger, it brought them slightly closer together and is setting them up for their inevitable reconciliation. And that's about it. I've had this video recorded for a while, but due to Nearlight and then Lonetail spoilers, I was considering putting it off. But based on everything I've seen, Lonetail is going to require its own separate video for the character of Silence. So, be good people, I'll talk to you later.